Back on halftime here, bottom of the hour. It means we go to the phones and we get a chance to talk with Aaron Torres, our friend from now Aaron Torres Media, which I think I got right the first time. We mentioned it last week, AT, and you guys got a lot more content on your website, and it's really good stuff.
Well, I'm trying, Phil. I'm trying, man. But yeah, no, Aaron Torres Media. You follow me, it's pretty much the same stuff. I'm watching a lot of college football, trying to keep up with everything else. But yeah, it's like anything else. Got some talented people, some smart people, and it's been fun. It's been interesting. It's been different. Definitely a different way of life, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it, and I'm enjoying the heck out of the football too, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I know you're probably watching Ohio State last night. That's the game I watched. You got them in your Final Four, picking Georgia as the champion, and we'll get into your thoughts on them playing Clemson in just a little bit. But you had Ohio State as your national runner-up. Did you have some sweat coming down your head at halftime yesterday?
No, I didn't, and I'll take it a step further, Phil. I'll ruin the end of the segment. I actually think Clemson's going to beat Georgia this weekend, and my Bulldogs, Kirby Smart, they're going to ramble back and win the national championship. But, as far as last night, I actually was not surprised at all. I mean, and the guys talked about it on the broadcast, but, it's so worth noting that nothing that really happened last year, except Arkansas being awesome, better than expected, going 3-3 at one point through the first 6 games. Nothing, you can't really take a ton out of last year. And I mean, especially in the Big Ten, they start so late. Their COVID protocols are insane. We're 21 days out for a positive test when the CDC said, 14-day quarantine is more than enough. And it was just so hard to gauge who was legit, who wasn't. I mean, even Ohio State, in going to the playoff in the national championship game, they had a couple close calls along the way because every week it was a different lineup, a different roster. And so Minnesota won 11 games 2 years ago, and, you have the combination of a full packed house, which I think we all forget how important home field advantage is in college football, with a first-time starter at quarterback in C.J. Stroud. I thought there was a legitimate chance that it was as close as it was, if not closer. And so, to me, I just bring it up to very simply say I am not surprised by what happened last night. Credit, by the way, to Ohio State on the road in a conference game. Other teams are playing big games, but to do it in a true road environment, I came away impressed. And frankly, I came away impressed by Minnesota as well. Yeah. That's going to be a solid second, kind of middle-of-the-pack team there in the Big Ten. But I wouldn't say I was surprised, Phil, just because of the variables that went into that game.
I was certainly like everybody else. I was a little surprised, and when I went to bed and Minnesota had, I think, a 3 or 4 point lead, I kind of expected to wake up thinking that.
Went to bed? What are you doing?
I get up. I have to get up. I produce the morning show. I have to be up here at the station at 5:15. So at 10 o'clock, boo-hoo. I know at 10 o'clock it's bedtime, and I was really sad that I had to go to bed.
So if the Razorbacks have a night game, you're just gonna call it a night at halftime, or what?
Not if it's on Saturdays. I mean, if they ever decide that they want to play a Thursday night game, then yeah, I might.
The great part about this, Aaron, is that Drew is co-hosting the post game to the post game show.
Yes.
On Saturday. So I don't know what that'll be for next week against Texas with a 6 o'clock kick, but that's good luck staying up after midnight, Mr. Morning Show.
So, and let me also say, by the way, it's a good thing Arkansas basketball is going to be good at all this year. I'm sure they won't have any games that are relevant after about 10 p.m. Central Time. I'm sure that, nothing relevant will be happening at that point. But anyway, Drew, continue. I digress. Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, I think you're right. I probably need to start really investing into Red Bull or something to help pep me up in the morning with the lack of sleep. But some of the other games last night that were going on, obviously Central Florida and Boise State into the wee hours of the night, Tennessee's, and I kid you not, Aaron, people on Twitter last night, because they're the most irrational people of all time, tweeting out, feels like 98 already with the Josh Heupel. But with Gus down at Central Florida and pulling off that comeback win against Boise State, do you think that he eventually does parlay this into another job and does well enough at Central Florida to parlay it into another Power 5 job, or is he going to just kind of ride out his golden years in Florida?
Well, two things. One, there's a report that they will be in the Big 12, or that an invitation will be coming from the Big 12 on their behalf.
Fake news. Memphis wasn't in the report, so it's fake.
Yes. Oh, so that's why you just ignore the report. Must be fake news. Okay, I get it. But one, I really kind of believed all along when he took that job with an we all knew at some, even before when he took the job, there was no official reports of an expanded playoff, but we all kind of knew it's coming in some form, whether it's going to be 6, 8, whatever. But I just when he took that job, I said, that's a great job in a world where we're going to get an expanded playoff at some time here in the future. And so I'm not surprised that that he had, obviously certainly a very interesting game to open his slate there. But then also beyond that, I just think you look at the future. I mean, that, you tell me, Drew, if they're in the Big 12, what's a better job, that or Mississippi State? That or Vanderbilt, that or, when I say that, I obviously mean Central Florida, but, Central Florida or Washington State, I mean, you kind of do the math and it's like, that's a pretty good setup with all the players that they have in the state of Florida, the success that program has already had under Heupel and Scott Frost. I understand why Heupel left. I understand why Scott Frost left. But, in a future where we are probably going to have an expanded playoff, I think that's a better job than a lot of others, especially, by the way, if we go, obviously, if they do go to the Big 12. So I think, my guess is you never say never, and you never know what opportunities are going to present itself. But I think the guys on the other end of 60 right now, somewhere in late 50s, early 60s, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last stop.
So, AT, I'm with you on the outcome of Georgia-Clemson this weekend. And a lot of that is because I'm not sure about the backups for Georgia in certain situations. They have a lot of injuries, and is that your reason for picking Clemson and then Georgia gets healthy and runs through the SEC? Is that what you're kind of forecasting?
Well, correct, Phil. For people who don't know, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it enough, first of all, they had the kid Eric Gilbert from LSU who nobody knows really what his deal is, but he's kind of been in and out of camp. George Pickens gets hurt in spring ball. He's their best kind of deep threat. And then, you lose your best tight end in a cover corner. That's just a lot of stuff to overcome going into a game against Clemson, probably, frankly, one of the few teams in the country that has equal to or greater talent. So when I look at Georgia, that's basically what it comes down to, Phil. So much of this stuff is who do you play and when do you play them? I mean, it goes back to the Minnesota-Ohio State game. If that was week 9 and C.J. Stroud had 8 starts under his belt, I feel a lot differently about, the chances Minnesota had to keep things competitive. But with Georgia, that's part of the variable. Is just tough opponent and, wrong time to face them with all those injuries. The other thing, Phil, I hate to say it because Arkansas is on the schedule, but Georgia's schedule is manageable. I mean, they don't play LSU, Alabama, A&M or Ole Miss in the cross-division games. Auburn and Arkansas are their 2 cross-division opponents. And then, look, Florida's probably going to be down. Despite, Drew's Twitter feed, what they were saying last night, I don't think Tennessee, I don't think it's 98 all over again, despite what Twitter was saying. So the schedule lines up really, really nicely for them. And I think they get healthy, get some momentum, and then it comes down to, as it has 3 times in the Kirby Smart era, what do you do in Atlanta to get to that playoff? One other thing, Phil, and I said this and I wrote it, when they took Eric Gilbert, the kid from LSU, transfers, ends up at Florida, leaves Florida, that was kind of like one of these high-risk, high-reward deals. And what that said to me, Phil, was that, Kirby Smart knows his window is now. He's got the quarterback, he's got the skill position guys, he's got the defense. And if I can add he's got the schedule, by the way, and if I can add a piece or 2 that's going to put us over the top, it's the time to do that. And so that said a lot to me. And I believe he knows that this is his window, and that is why, Phil, very stupidly probably, I have picked Georgia to win the national championship.
Well, Aaron, everybody's got their own opinions, their own beliefs, and if that's where the basket you want to put all your eggs in, go right ahead. Back to the big.
History tells me it's a bad basket to put them in, but whatever. Yeah, listen, Phil knows me. The thing about me, I always say what I really believe. No matter, it's easy to just and it's not like I went out on a crazy limb. They're number 5 in the country in the preseason, but it's easy to just say, oh, Bama versus Clemson until somebody knocks off Bama. It's like, no, have a little fun. If you really believe it, then say it. And I do believe in Georgia this year. So anyway, Drew, I didn't mean to cut you off.
What were the odds I saw out of Vegas on Alabama winning the national championship? It's so heavy towards Alabama. It's almost like nobody believes anybody else could win. So in this case, AT, even picking the number 5 team is
out
still
there.
like, whoa.
Yeah, and that's where we're at in college football. And so I know it's a big talking point. And I saw somebody again on social media last night. It's not always a reflection of whatever, but he said like there just hasn't been enough weirdness in college football the last few years during the Ohio State game when Minnesota took the lead. And I think the insinuation was kind of, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, they all take care of business against everybody except for each other. And so let's get weird. Let's have a crazy game to start the season. The result didn't end up happening. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's a metaphor for college football right now where those 2, 3, 4 programs have separated from everybody else.
Yeah, you might as well have fun with the preseason stuff and go with the team that you think that's going to be the most entertaining and going to have the best chance to dethrone those programs you just talked about. But back to the Big Ten real quick, AT, and big matchup tomorrow for James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions against the number 12 ranked Wisconsin. Is this the year that it's got to come together for James Franklin? I mean, his tenure at Penn State, it's been good, but it hasn't been great.
Yeah, they're one of those teams, it's funny, I was talking about this on my podcast this week. There's kind of like that elite tier, which is probably just Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. And then there's like that tier that's behind them, but they're not quite those schools like Oklahoma, Georgia, Notre Dame. And then there's like a tier behind that that probably has Oregon, and, Penn State would definitely be in that mix, Drew. And so, what's wild about this to me is just, one, and it's kind of the conversation about Ohio State too, is like, this is the year supposedly you should catch Ohio State, no different than Alabama in the SEC, but who is going to do it? And Penn State had good success against them early, and it seems like that gap has widened, not shrunk over the last couple of years. And so, I do kind of think it's the year, but I do kind of think this is a tough way to start the season. I give the Big Ten credit because they're putting really good games on our airwaves this opening weekend. But talk about a tough place to go opening night. I don't feel great about Penn State. Potentially pulling off the upset. They are like a 5.5 point underdog in this game. Wisconsin's really good, man. Wisconsin's really good. Penn State got hot late last year, but if you really kind of watched, they beat a bunch of bad teams. They beat Michigan State and Rutgers and a few others. So I am not sold that Penn State is magically going to turn this around. And if they don't, it really does, kind of feed into exactly what you just said, Drew, the idea that, frankly, we're at a point where Penn State's maybe that second, third best team in the Big Ten, but they are still miles away from the best of the best in the country.
AT, enjoy the first real weekend of college football, and good luck with the picks.
Thank you, Phil. Good luck with your guys' picks, too. I'll be listening. Thanks, guys.
You got it. You got it. Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Sports Media, Fox Sports Radio, and always joins us on Fridays. Hey, for all the men listening right now, you might not know the statistic. About 1 in 9 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime. Unfortunately, all treatment options also have side effects like erectile dysfunction, urinary leakage, bowel complications. So you might want to check out Space or Hydrogel. This is a new therapy that can help minimize your risk of side effects when used with radiation therapy. If you want to learn more about the risks and benefits of Space or, visit spaceoar.com. That's spaceoar.com. And that's brought to you by Boston Scientific. All right, we're going to wrap up the first hour after the break on halftime.
It's that time of the year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all of the pro and college football action this season. Get all of the updated odds, props, and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest 200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Here's what you have to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager's going to be refunded for up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.